Will AI make you unemployed the coming 5 years? Maybe. How do you know if the answer is yes or no? You don't. But there is an abundance of data and information that gives you good indications to which roles and competencies that are at risk and which aren't. In this video, I will go through the facts, which roles are at risk, which aren't and why, and how to make yourself as AI-proof as possible. I hope to guide you from a state of worry to having a clear-eyed view of your current situation and if your role is at risk and what to do about it. Let's get into it. This segment will be facts and numbers heavy, so if you want to dive directly into which roles are more or less at risk of being displaced, slide on to the next segment. I have read through all of the reports mentioned in this segment so you don't have to, and have synthesized the key takeaways and statistics which we will go through now. Several research studies have converged on a consistent finding. Roles dominated by routine, codifiable, and information processing tasks carry the highest displacement risk from AI. However, the research also stresses that task displacement is far more common than full job displacement. AI typically automates parts of jobs before eliminating them entirely. By displacement risk, I mean the risk of being involuntarily losing your job due to structural changes rather than poor performance. The World Economic Forum Future of Jobs Report of 2025, drawing on surveys of over 1,000 employers representing 14 million workers, projects that 92 million roles will be displaced globally by 2030, while 170 million new roles emerge, a net gain of 78 million jobs. The report further found that 40% of employers globally plan to reduce their workforce in areas where AI can automate tasks. The IMF January 2024 staff discussion note estimated that approximately 40% of global employment is exposed to AI. In advanced economies, this figure rises to 60%. Half of the at-risk roles could, however, actually benefit from enhanced productivity through AI integration. Goldman Sachs research from 2023 found that roughly 2/3 of US jobs are exposed to AI automation in some form, equivalent to 300 million full-time jobs globally. That does not mean 2/3 of jobs disappear, it means part of them can be done by AI. Real-world displacement is already measurable, but smaller than the headlines suggest. Challenger Gray and Christmas, which tracks US layoff announcements, reported that AI was directly cited as the reason for around 55,000 US job cuts in 2025, out of 1.17 million total layoffs. That is the highest annual total since 2020, but AI only accounted for about 5% of those cuts. For context, market and economic conditions drove 4 times as many. Anthropic, the company that builds Claude, published their own research on this in March 2026. It is worth including because this is the AI developer itself looking at the data, and their conclusions are more measured than the headlines. They built a new measure called observed exposure, combining what AI can theoretically do with what Claude is actually being used for in professional settings. For reference, Claude is a large language model tool, or AI tool, as most of us call it. The gap between the two is large. In computer and math occupations, which are 94% theoretically exposed, Claude covers only 33% of tasks in practice. So capability is running well ahead of actual adoption. Anthropic found no systematic increase in unemployment among the most AI-exposed workers since ChatGPT launched in late 2022. Their framework would detect a great recession-sized event for white-collar workers. That has not happened. The one warning sign in their data is for workers aged 22 to 25. Hiring into exposed occupations has slowed for this group by around 14% compared to 2022. Some professions may seamlessly integrate AI tools, while others could face resistance because of cultural, ethical, or operational concerns. In some sectors, where human oversight of AI is necessary, it could amplify worker productivity and labor demand. Conversely, in other sectors, AI might pave the way for significant job displacement. Moreover, this evolution could also lead to the emergence of new sectors and job roles, and the disappearance of others. Conversely, clerical workers, who are also very exposed to AI but have a lower level of shielding, are more at risk of being displaced. I will leave links to all of these reports in the video description. This segment has been all science and numbers. What does it mean in practice? In the next segment, I will go through which roles are at risk of being displaced by AI and why. Let's continue. This segment might feel controversial. It might anger some and worry others. The basis for what I will say is the reports mentioned and my experience as a management consultant and competencies in the artificial intelligence sphere. My intention is not to worry you or scare you, it's only to inform you so that you can make informed decisions. Nothing is set in stone, and there are particular workplace dynamics that, of course, affect how quickly a particular role or industry will be affected. Check my video Why 90% of IT projects fail and what it means for your career for a short review of the cultural aspects that affect digital transformations at large companies. Okay, let's rip off the band-aid and get to it. I have created a list of the roles most at risk of jobs displacement due to AI, and I will go through each role in turn. Computer programmers, software developers, where the key risk factor is routine coding tasks increasingly handled by AI, code generation. This is the most talked about role in the media, and doesn't come as a surprise, and the obvious one to start off with. What is at play here? Does it mean all programmers and software developers will get unemployed? Of course not. It does mean that junior coders and coders that mainly work with routine and repeatable coding tasks are at risk. There are, of course, measures these individuals can do to lower their displacement exposure. Creating MVPs, simpler coding tasks, are things experienced coders are already tasking LLM tools with today. To further specify, with routine tasks, I mean boilerplate tasks like writing CRUD endpoints, basic unit tests, and routine refactoring. Human developers remain indispensable for solving novel problems, navigating complex business requirements, and managing the ethical implications of non-deterministic systems. Accountants and auditors, where the key risk tasks are standardized financial analyses and compliance checks being automatable. Now, for auditors, they do have the moat of most countries requiring an auditor to be licensed, hence currently fencing off LLMs doing their job. However, these requirements are not guaranteed to last if LLMs can be adapted to and be proven to be able to handle tasks just as well as human auditors. There is already software that can do a very good accounting job, and I have myself created code that uses my country's GAAP to do a very accurate job of bookkeeping and accounting. Legal and administrative assistance, where the key risk tasks are document review, research, and scheduling. These tasks are core LLM capabilities. For those who already use LLM tools extensively, especially with more sophisticated models, this is already obvious. I personally do most of the mentioned tasks, at least the ones tied to my private life and my company, using LLM tools. How quickly these roles will be displaced is very much tied to company culture and the AI maturity and the country these roles are in. Level 1 and 2 customer service representatives, where the key risk tasks are routine inquiries that are familiar in nature and prone to being handled by AI at scale. L3, or more complex customer service work, still currently needs human oversight, especially in issue needing a lot of interpersonal communication, where human emotions and communication is a very important element. Level 1 and 2 computer user support specialists is similar to the customer service representative case, in that the key tasks at risk are routine issues that have the same or very similar solutions. Here, LLM agents can also be used to fix the issues, not only analyze and answer the inquiries. And as with the customer representative roles, L3 computer support issues requiring a lot of interpersonal communication are not as much at risk as the L1 and L2 roles. Software quality assurance analysts and testers, where the key risk tasks are tasks that focus on execution and maintenance rather than strategy and risk interpretation, are at risk. Examples of the replaceable tasks are regression testing, test case generation, and self-healing script maintenance. Quality engineering, focusing on overseeing AI agents and auditing non-deterministic code, is much more safe than the traditional quality assurance and tester role. Credit analysts, where the key risk tasks are data-driven scoring and risk assessment that are readily automated. Examples include financial spreading, OCR ingestion of tax reasons and PDS, and vanilla underwriting for small ticket loans. Insurance companies that have already implemented the use of AI already have automated credit risk analysis work using LLM tools. Technical writers, where the key risk tasks are manual documentation, API references, and user manuals being generated directly from source code or wireframes. Does this mean documentation as a field is dead? Not quite. But the entry-level work of describing what a button does or how a basic function works is now a core LLM capability. Human writers are shifting toward high-level content strategy and information architecture, ensuring the voice of the documentation is consistent and actually addresses the user's intent, rather than just describing syntax. Entry-level graphic designers and illustrators, where the key risk factor is the production of routine commercial assets like social media banners, stock style illustrations, and layout adjustments. For those in the creative industry, the arrival of advanced generative models has turned what used to take hours into a seconds-long prompt. While high-level art direction and brand identity still require a human soul and strategic vision, the need for large teams of junior designers to execute the grunt work of a campaign is rapidly diminishing. Market research analysts, where the key risk tasks are gathering, cleaning, and summarizing market trends or consumer data. In 2026, agentic AI can browse the web, scrape sentiment, and produce a competitive analysis report in minutes. The role is no longer about finding the information, but rather interpreting the implications of the data for business strategy. If a role is primarily centered on finding and summarizing information that already exists online, the displacement risk is extremely high. Medical transcriptionists and insurance coders, where the key risk tasks are real-time clinical note-taking and translating patient visits into insurance codes. AI models now handle these tasks with a precision that often exceeds human specialists, especially when navigating the massive libraries of medical terminology. The human element in this field is moving strictly to a final verification or auditor role, ensuring the AI didn't miss a specific nuance in a doctor's dictation, rather than performing the transcription from scratch. In an article from 2023, Frey and Osborne confirmed that perception and manipulation and social intelligence bottlenecks remain robust, noting that in-person interactions remain valuable, and such interactions cannot be readily substituted for LLMs. LLMs don't have bodies. However, they acknowledge that creative intelligence as a bottleneck has been substantially weakened by generative AI. The adaptive capacity by Manning and Aguirre, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, combined 4 dimensions to show what makes an individual more or less exposed to lose their job to AI solutions. Net liquid wealth, financial buffers to sustain a worker through a job transition. For example, getting a new education or taking the time to get training for a specialist job. Skill transferability, how readily a worker's existing skills translate to other occupations. Labor market density, availability of alternative employment in the worker's geographical area. Age, younger and mid-career workers generally transition more easily, though younger workers face compounding effects from early career disruption. Now, before you come at me or freak out, we do have a segment about what can be done to get less at risk of AI exposure. In the next segment, I will go through which roles are low exposure ones. No research institution claims any job is entirely immune from AI's effects. However, several categories of roles consistently emerge as having low displacement risk due to AI across multiple studies. And of course, even if the research shows a certain role is at risk, not all will be affected in the same way, as there will be variations. Going back to Frey and Osborne again, they identified 3 engineering bottlenecks, categories of tasks that resist automation because they cannot be fully specified in codifiable rules. Perception and manipulation, tasks requiring fine motor dexterity, sensory judgment, and physical navigation in unstructured environments. For example, surgery, emergency response, craft work. Creative intelligence, tasks requiring novel combinations of ideas, artistic expression, and original problem solving, captured through variables including visualization, writing, complex problem solving, and design. Social intelligence, tasks requiring real-time recognition of human emotion, persuasion, negotiation, and care, captured through variables including social perceptiveness and negotiation. Skilled tradespeople, like electricians, plumbers, and carpenters, represent the perception and manipulation part in the purest form. These roles require navigating unstructured physical environments where every job site presents unique, tactile challenges that robots currently cannot replicate cost-effectively. Now, with manipulation, I don't mean the psychological one, I mean manipulating your physical world. While AI can design a circuit, it cannot physically snake a wire through a 50-year-old wall or adjust its grip based on the feel of rusted pipe. These blue-collar roles have become some of the most AI-resilient jobs because the physical world is far more messy than any digital dataset. Registered nurses and physical therapists, where the job is a constant blend of social intelligence and physical manipulation. These professionals must interpret complex emotional states and subtle physical cues in real time to provide care that feels human and safe. An AI might be able to analyze a medical chart, but lacks the physical intuition to help a patient walk without causing pain, or the social perceptiveness to comfort a grieving family. In the healthcare sector, the deliverable isn't just a result, it's the human connection and trust built during the process. Strategic leaders and creative directors who operate in the realm of high-level creative intelligence. These roles are not about routine decision-making, but about synthesizing novel ideas and taking personal accountability for first-of-its-kind problems that have no historical data. When a company faces a unique global crisis or needs to invent an entirely new market category, AI can provide the trends, but the human leader must provide the vision and the gut instinct to act. In 2026, the value of a leader is found in their ability to navigate the unknown unknowns, where algorithms have no map. Artisans and boutique craft workers, where the value of the product is inextricably linked to human effort and original artistic expression. In an era where AI can mass produce perfection at zero marginal costs, the market for intentional imperfection and the story behind a handmade item has actually grown. This falls squarely into the creative intelligence bottleneck, where the novel combination of ideas is driven by individual human experience. For these roles, being human-made is no longer a manufacturing detail. It is the primary luxury selling point. Alright, in the next segment, we will go through what you can do about your role being vulnerable to displacement due to AI. I will go through general advice before I touch on specific high-risk roles mentioned in the jobs most likely to disappear segment. The ease of acquiring AI-related skills will determine the ultimate impact of this technology. The ability to adjust is crucial for navigating AI-induced challenges. If you find yourself in a high-exposure role, your goal isn't necessarily to quit, but to build what researchers call high complementarity. This means using AI to automate your routine, boilerplate tasks so you can double down on the high-stakes responsibility and interpersonal interactions that the machine cannot handle alone. In roles like law, high-end programming, or complex auditing, AI doesn't replace the expert. It shields them by amplifying their productivity and making their human judgment the most valuable part of the equation. To do this effectively, you must consciously move your daily work toward the three engineering bottlenecks that we discussed before: social intelligence, judgment under uncertainty, and physical world presence. This is the research-backed playbook. Don't just be the person who writes the code or the report. Be the person who negotiates its implications with the stakeholder or manages the messy, real-world fallout of a strategic pivot. By focusing on tasks that require real-time recognition of human emotion and complex persuasion, you turn your job from a codifiable process into a non-deterministic, essential service. Ultimately, the ease of acquiring AI-related skills will determine the ultimate impact of this technology on your specific career. It's not just about knowing AI exists, it's about the speed and fluidity with which you integrate these tools to handle the grunt work while you maintain the human oversight. The ability to adjust is crucial for navigating these AI-induced changes, transforming you from a worker at risk of displacement into an AI-augmented professional who is simply too efficient and strategically valuable to let go. For computer programmers, to shield your role, you must move from writing code to architecting systems and thinking philosophically and strategically about code. Focus on the why behind software, such as complex business logic and system security, which AI still struggles to define without human guidance. By becoming the bridge between business requirements and AI-generated code, you maintain the high complementarity that makes an expert developer indispensable. If you don't already have the mathematical skills, learn the math that underlies AI, such as transformers, deep neural networks, and more. For accountants and auditors, the shift here is from manual bookkeeping to strategic, advisory, and risk auditing. Use AI to handle the financial spreading and compliance checks so you can focus on interpreting the data for tax strategy and long-term business health. Since you hold the license and the legal liability, your role evolves into being the final signatory who ensures the AI's output matches the nuanced reality of gap. For legal and administrative assistance, move toward complex case management and roles requiring high social intelligence. Instead of just reviewing documents, focus on the negotiation and interpersonal logistics that keep a firm or executive running smoothly. AI can draft contracts, but it cannot navigate the sensitive office politics or high-stakes client relationship management that defines a senior-level assistant. For level 1 and 2, customer service representatives, to avoid displacement, you must pivot toward high-value retention and complex conflict resolution. Learn to handle the exceptions where customers are frustrated and need human empathy and the authority to make judgment calls. By moving into L3 or specialized account management, you leverage the social intelligence bottleneck that AI agents still cannot fully replicate. For level 1 and 2 computer user support specialists, transition from routine troubleshooting to IT systems architecture and cybersecurity. Focus on managing the AI agents that handle the low-level tickets and spend your time on infrastructure design and preventing high-level security threats. Your value lies in your physical world presence and the ability to diagnose complex multi-system failures that aren't covered in a standard manual. For software quality assurance analysts and testers, shift your focus from manual test execution to quality engineering and AI model validation. Learn to audit the non-deterministic outputs of AI-generated code and oversee self-healing automation frameworks. In 2026, the safest QA roles are those that design the strategy for how quality is maintained across an entire AI-driven development lifecycle. For credit analysts, move away from vanilla underwriting and toward complex deal structuring and relationship-based lending. Focus on commercial loans or M&A where qualitative factors like the integrity of management or unique market shifts are more important than raw data. By specializing in high-stakes gray area assessments, you remain the essential human filter for risk that AI cannot fully quantify. For technical writers, pivot from what to how by focusing on information architecture and user experience strategy. Instead of just documenting features, take responsibility for the overall structure and usability of the help system to ensure it actually solves user pain points. Your goal is to become the strategist who ensures AI-generated content follows a coherent, human-centered brand voice. For entry-level graphic designers and illustrators, move from asset creation to brand identity and creative direction. Use AI tools to generate basic layouts and spend your time on the high-level strategy that ensures a visual campaign actually resonates with human culture. Your value is no longer in the pixels you create, but in the soul and strategic coherence of the overall design. For market research analysts, shift from finding information to predictive strategy and qualitative insights. Use AI to scrape the data, but focus your career on interviewing key stakeholders and interpreting the why behind consumer behavior. If you can provide human-led insights that data alone misses, you move into a high complementary position that is safe from automation. For medical transcriptionists and insurance coders, transition into clinical documentation auditing and data integrity management. As AI takes over the bulk of the transcription, your role becomes the human in the loop that ensures AI didn't miss a critical medical nuance. By focusing on the ethical and legal accuracy of health records, you maintain a level of accountability that machines cannot possess. It is important to note that the research is far from settled. Key disagreements and caveats in the current research include task displacement versus job displacement. Though many roles have high degrees of exposure to AI automation, that doesn't mean the entire role will be displaced. Even if many tasks or even most are displaced, a role can transform and be adapted, as we see throughout the industrial and internet eras. Now, job creation. Even if AI displaces some roles, history has shown us that others will emerge. AI's job creation effects could very well outpace the job displacement part. Timeline uncertainty. How fast AI will displace high exposure roles is still a topic of debate, and is of course affected by factors such as company politics and the AI infrastructure of a country. Are we talking 5 years or 10 years or more? Implementation gap. There is a significant difference between what AI is theoretically capable of and what is actually being adopted in professional settings. As the Anthropic research highlighted, an occupation might have 94% theoretical exposure, yet only a third of those tasks are being performed by AI in practice. This gap exists because integrating new technology into complex legacy business workflows often takes years, if not decades, of operational adjustment. Legal and ethical accountability. Even if an AI can perform a task with 99% accuracy, the moat of professional liability remains. Society and regulatory bodies still require a human in the loop to take legal responsibility for high-stakes outcomes in medicine, law, and finance. This requirement for human accountability ensures that even highly exposed roles will persist as auditor or signatory positions rather than being fully automated. The human-made premium. We must consider the psychological factor of consumer preference for human interaction and craft. In an era of infinite low-cost AI generation, the market value of intentional imperfection and human-to-human connection often increases. This cultural resistance suggests that roles centered on empathy, care, and artisanal skill may actually see a rise in demand as they become luxury markers of quality. Final takeaway. Ultimately, the research suggests that we are not entering an era of joblessness, but an era of radical job transformation. The key to navigating this transition is to move away from being a routine task executor and toward becoming an AI-augmented professional who manages the gray areas of strategy, trust, and judgment. Your career survival won't be determined by whether AI can do your job, but by how effectively you can use AI to do the grunt work while you focus on the bottlenecks that machines simply cannot bridge. If you liked this video, please click the like and subscribe buttons. See you in the next one.